Welcome to the I Am Chair podcast. I am Chair.
I'm your host, Pine Jolt, and today I'm joined by co-host Chair
Hello.
and Frost Blooper. He's our diversity quota filler, so we're gonna call him Jose now and then, so you never get confused. Today our topic is Game of the Year for 2017. Not just Game of the Year. We're gonna be talking about games in general. Game of the Year. We're gonna be talking about our best and our worst games of the year. But not only that, it doesn't have to be from 2017. It can be from any time at all. In case you're wondering,
Shay, put the orange down.
Shay.
Put the orange down, Shay.
Okay, Jose is just cracking himself up thinking the worst game of the year because you know there's been some stuff done.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking, our game of the year doesn't have to be made in 2017. It can be from any time, but it has to be our personal favorite of 2017, and we're going to have our least favorite of 2017.
So your favorite this year?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It doesn't have to be from this year, but just our favorite in general this year.
Let's let Pine Jolt start.
Cool. I'd say this year we've had some amazing games. I'd say Cuphead. I'm not sure if it's
I
my
think
favorite game.
Cuphead's a 7 out of 10.
I hate you.
That's nice.
Honestly, though, Cuphead was a great game, but by far not my favorite of the year.
It's lacking in substance.
It is
to me.
lacking in substance. It's a great game if you want to do a boss rush.
It has tons of polish. But in terms of gameplay, it's not worth the $20 price tags. Wait until a Steam sale to get it because, for $20 you are not getting $20 of game.
If you're an enjoyer of the soundtrack, which might I say is fantastic.
Then you get the soundtrack on its by itself.
Exactly. If you're a fan of the soundtrack or the art, then go ahead for it. If you're looking for solid campaign gameplay, this isn't really the game for you.
Yeah. It would be the game for you if you got it at a discounted price or in a humble
Exactly.
bundle.
I'd say a fair price would be $10 to $15.
Similar to Undertale, where it has excellent almost everything, but the substance. Toby Fox priced this game perfectly, where it's clean $10-11 for $10-11 of content. While Cuphead, well, yes, I agree that the art did make it probably inflate the price tag. It is still gameplay wise as a game, it is not worth nearly enough $10.
Ultimately, it's a band with incredible musicians, but no songs that they know. And so the problem is the reason why you're paying so much, $23, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, $23 original list price is because it took a lot of effort. The artwork
Exactly.
takes months to develop.
You're paying
It's
for the
all
manpower,
handmade,
not for the game.
which
Yeah.
is beautiful.
There was more.
And
There was more heart and soul, and most of the delays stemmed from all the artwork and music.
yeah, no, as artwork, the game is admirable. It's incredibly
Absolutely,
admirable. When
yes.
it comes to a game, personally, I rank games off how much fun I've gotten out of it.
Exactly.
And
If it's not
Cuphead,
fun, why play
sadly,
it?
just isn't that long. It's absolutely admirable in everything it does, but not how long it does it
It's
for.
partly why they don't let you advance if you do it on simple mode. Because if you did it on simple mode, the game would be over in 2 hours, and it is just not fun. But with the difficulty and especially the progress bars, it kind of you're here, you're almost there. Perfect.
Keep going.
Keep
Yeah.
going. And,
I
without
like
the
how we're supposed to be
difficulty-
talking about our best and worst, but we're just kind of talking about the mediocre. I'd say
Cuphead isn't quite mediocre.
it's
7
not-
out of 10
it's-
is
it-
good.
yeah.
It's
It
definitely
set a
good.
few standards in certain areas
exactly.
and
Yeah,
gave
that's
a
what I'd
really
say.
good idea.
I was giving Cuphead
but-
as an example because sure, it's not. I wouldn't say
It
it's
is
7
not
out
a
of 10.
game of the year
I'd say it's an 8 out of
contender.
10. I really enjoyed it, but it's not 10 out of 10 for me. I'm a huge fan of Nintendo, right? So when I hear that Shovel Knight is on DS, I'm freaking out because I've seen it video.
Wasn't Shovel Knight originally on 3DS though?
It was.
eShop
It was.
the first appearance.
Yeah, that's where it was first appearance. But I've seen video of it. I didn't know much about it, right? So when I heard that that's the platform it was going for, I was
To
ecstatic.
be fair, if
I got it for I think $14, which is an incredible price for the length of the game already.
and the
The
added
nostalgic 8-bit soundtrack was incredible.
DLC. The soundtrack is not something you'd listen to like Undertale or
Cuphead.
or Cuphead outside of the game,
But inside the game,
contextually, it's great.
It
Wonderful.
fits perfectly. The pixelated graphics worked quite well with the style of game it was.
Stylistically,
But I think where it really nailed it,
gameplay.
the gameplay was amazing, but I think where it
It's-
really nailed it was DLCs. It gives free DLCs that are their entirely own games. I wouldn't even say I preferred Shovel Knight the most. I'd say the entire free DLC of Spectre Knight was incredible. It incorporated rail grinding. It incorporated air slashes. It
To be
was
fair,
one of my favorite games of all time. It surpassed even Shovel Knight, and it's a free DLC.
If
They're
every
continually,
bit of,
yeah.
If every bit of DLC was as detailed and expansive and just overall as good as Spectre Knight, then people would actually like EA.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the whole free DLC thing could be argued as a publicity stunt. They know they'll get really good publicity, really good opinions on them if they give up free DLC. But then again, it is free DLC. It is what it is. They get publicity because it is
most
a
game
good
companies,
thing.
all press is good press because people will still buy games like Bubsy to see how bad they are. Like Bubsy 3D still keeps getting sales despite being universally regarded as one of the worst games of all time.
Yeah.
People
So-
buy things. Well, that's kind of markets
So
today. when it
People will
comes to
buy things
YouTubers
either
or
to enjoy
video
them
games.
or to laugh at them.
Yeah, so that's why game like EA, like Battlefront 2, did not make any financial loss at all. And it was confident enough in that to assure investors that nothing was lost.
Okay,
Through
so
all the backlash. So we taught them nothing.
yeah. Well, they did lose like $3 billion in stocks. They gained it back, but they did
They
lose
gained
it. They did lose it very quickly.
To be fair,
and
they
I think
do
that
have-
does make an impact. And in
Yes.
the future,
It's
they're
it
going
was
to
a
be
PR
more hesitant.
disaster. They're going to be more hesitant to do that, and also they hold the dubious honor of having 2 or 3 of the most downvoted Reddit posts of all time.
I
Exactly.
think the
Wonderful.
problem with EA right now is that it's become an industry. It's a company that
Games
makes games.
aren't about games anymore.
They're
They
about
are,
money.
They're about the amount of money you can pull for them, and it's kind of how far you can push predatory business practices without pushing the consumers over the edge. Where they hunt this proverbial whale, and mobile games specifically, like Clash of Clans and Candy Crush, have preyed upon them since they first came onto the scene. Where the whale is somebody who will spend lots and lots of money to be good at this game, and EA has seen like there are reports of people spending $15,000 on FIFA, and you wonder why they can make money back through one person and make everybody else pay just a little bit more.
No, EA is a factory at this point. It's a money miner factory. It launches the games that people want. It does what a factory's been required to do. It sees what people are buying, and then it releases and produces for what they're
And
buying.
this
And
is-
I remember back when I was a lot younger. I was one of those kids who had the Xbox One, even though I wasn't young enough to, or I hadn't been around long enough to actually have gotten it when it came out. But I remember playing EA games and being so excited because they were the best on the market. You'd sit down, and when the logo came up, you'd say along with it, EA, it's in the game. And that was, EA was the coolest thing ever. But it's no longer about the game, it's about the money. And that's really brought it down.
And it
But there's
affects-
always going to have those hardcore fans who aren't going for EA, they're going for Star Wars. They're going for
Absolutely.
They're going for the brands that EA is pushing. So
Proven by the
EA's never
success
going to
of Lego.
suffer as much.
Where else
as,
are you going to find a football game that offers football as good as EA does? Because
Nowhere.
Nowhere else, because EA just has that much money, and they can still run a massive PR scandal and still not lose anything and confidently assure investors that they lost nothing.
At the same time, you can credit them for running a market. You can say
Exactly,
that they're
yeah.
the only one
Yeah,
that does that. But if you look back into the past, there have been games competing against FIFA. Games that unarguably had, for
Yeah,
example,
but
better
whenever
gameplay,
EA
but not
has
as
a
good character
competitor,
rosters.
they
So people
buy.
who like football want more characters, more teams. They go for
Exactly.
EA.
Yeah, and one thing is that EA, like its predatory consumer practices haven't been they've been going on for like the past decade, but the main issue is that the consumer hasn't started to notice them until now, or the extreme. Because like you remember when people complained about hiding stuff behind pre-orders and stuff, and now
Yeah.
it's like that
That's
was
just
good.
a-
That was good. There are no loot boxes
Somebody
hiding the
say
best
No
characters.
Man's Lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not.
We're not going to talk about that game.
No, that's
That-
had too much coverage.
Yeah.
But the point is that before
More
we
coverage
complain
than
about
content.
video games pushing pre-orders, but at least for the $60 that you paid for this game, you still got the full game. Here, like even cosmetic items aren't earned because before they were earned. Now it's behind loot boxes, stores, microtransactions, and it's just it's a shit show.
Well, you realize it's not even necessarily because That's one side of it, because ultimately you say the DLCs should be what they are, downloadable content. They're add-ons to the game. They add more to the game. Shovel Knight put a whole nother game. It was the same game engine. It's
The
like if you
game-
look at Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, ultimately Far Cry 4 should have been a DLC because they changed literally nothing in the game engine. But when you look at DLCs, the issue is either they are selling required content in the game for more money, which, it shouldn't be that.
Yeah,
You
like
should get the full game. Or the other way around, which is what EA has done. EA sold a full game with Battlefront 2, I guess. The
But
thing that
it's
they're
behind
doing...
all their they have no DLC in Battlefront. It's all free updates. But
Well, what they've done, which not many companies have managed to do with microtransactions, is
Normalize them.
not taking away parts of the game and force you to pay for them back. No, they've made paying real money part of the game itself. It is part of the game.
Which
You want
is
to
an
succeed in online,
It's an issue.
part of it. They're not
And,
taking stuff
I
away.
feel
They're
like
just
EA
pushing you
For
into
that
it.
reason, this is a good segue. I'd say that Battlefront 2 is my worst game of the year. Not by far in gameplay or graphics, but in principle. I would never buy Battlefront. It's not by far a bad game. I'd say the fact
It's-
that EA that EA hit it behind paywalls and loot boxes. That's an issue that no matter how good the game is, I'm never going to agree with it. And
It's
that
hard to respect.
it's
the
hard to
game.
respect the game for that reason.
Yeah.
And sure, it might be a great game. It could have a great game engine. But look at the servers. The lag is unacceptable.
Yeah, especially for
They weren't
EA.
prepared for it.
Yeah.
No, they were definitely prepared. They knew, especially considering like they had 2 years of E3 and everything. They had 2 years of coverage leading up to it. They knew exactly what they were doing. It's EA who probably cut dice, where it's probably EA who just didn't give dice enough.
I wouldn't go as far to say
Resources.
that it disgusts me, but it certainly it
It's-
makes me angry.
It's disgusting to see
Because-
how far the predatory anti-consumer practices have come, and in a bit I will go into what game it has stemmed from in the past 2 years.
Yeah. And on that note, why don't we actually go to you, Frost? Well, let's hear your best and worst games of 2017.
Well, you
That'll
haven't
be-
actually said your best game.
My
Yes, I did.
he
well,
said Cuphead technically.
No,
No.
Shovel Knight.
Shovel
I
Knight? Oh,
really
right,
enjoyed
yeah.
Shovel
he
Knight.
might- yeah.
I've got quite a few, but I think I'm going to stick with Shovel Knight as my favorite.
My game of the year currently is Odyssey, Mario Odyssey. It's everything you could ask for a game of that type. It has so much polish, and despite not being on the best hardware, it definitely runs better than most of the AAA
Are there
titles.
even microtransactions at all in that?
I don't
No,
believe so.
It has
no.
one bit of DLC, but they are for unnecessary. It's a mini game with Luigi and his balloons. They're technically it's on top of like the around 900-ish power moons. It's on top of that, so that you can go over 100% with these free DLC. Because once again, while Nintendo being behind is both a blessing and a curse, because it doesn't catch up with all these predatory consumer practices, and even when it does catch up, it isn't as ugly as at the moment.
Because by the time they catch up, they've realized we
They've seen all
shouldn't
the
do
mistakes.
this. Yeah.
But it's money, and that's fine. But Mario Odyssey has all the polish, all the gameplay. While the main gimmick of like basically possessing enemies with your cap is a bit flawed sometimes, where they just shoehorn it. The amount of freedom it lets you have to complete the game and everything is truly admirable, and it completely deserves the 10 out of 10 due to how much care, to the point where it's, like, you will receive comments on what you wear to certain battles and stuff. It's everything you can ask for in a Mario
It's
game.
interactive.
If you
in
take
a
a
lot
look
of
at it, though,
ways.
the
And
graphics are not by far realistic,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say they're bad. I'd say that it's one of my favorite styles. Just because it's cartoony
Well,
doesn't mean it's bad.
realistic doesn't apply to like the cartoony aspect. where
Exactly.
Each game has a distinct art style, and Mario has defined its art style over the years. And like starting with like even from the beginning, it had such a distinct, colorful one that even in the jump to 3D, it's like in the remakes and everything, like 64 DS. Even then, it still looks nice today. It plays fine. But this is the first one, and it still holds up, unlike something like Crash Bandicoot, where it's not the remake and the original are separate games.
Yeah.
You have to play the Insane trilogy, because if not, it's unplayable, because the
Exactly.
it's all bugged, and like Crash, even it still makes some mistakes in the remake where it's it's too precise, and
Yeah.
Nintendo realized it from the beginning that if you make it too precise, it's not fun.
Yeah. If you take a look at the incredible amount of Mario 64 hacks at the Mario 64 fan games, you
Somebody-
can tell
Somebody's
how
actually released a new downloadable, like basically mod where it's Mario Maker, about 64. You can make your own
Exactly.
levels.
If you take a
Perfect.
look at it, the amount of fan support it got shows you how much of an innovative game it was for its time.
And even not for its time, still now, because this was
Exactly.
the first actual 3D game that worked. And like even then, before that, it was still Nintendo with Star Fox.
Yeah.
But Mario Odyssey is just kind of the eventual culmination of all this level of polish and love and care, and just really nice. But on to more negative subjects. My least favorite game of the year would, while I would normally say Bubsy, because who is like a character recognized one of the worst icons of all time, brought back in a mediocre game that is easily beaten by Crash, by Mario, by even Sonic Forces.
Sonic
And,
Mania, I'd
Sonic
say.
Mania was good, but
I forgot
it's
to
not
mention
my
that, but
worst.
it's
It's not my worst.
Sonic Mania it did its job well.
it's did
And
its job on it.
ironically, it did. The fans who made it understood how to make a Sonic game better than the Sonic team, which later released a
because they
disappointment
weren't
in Sonic
into
Forces,
the new Sonic games, they're into the old ones.
which made it work. Sonic's jump to 3D doesn't work because his whole gimmick is going fast, which is good on like
2D.
It's good in 2D. That axis works because you only have to make the momentum work that way. But as soon as you move to 3D, either
Now you just have a
either
Mario
you make
game
it a
with a
mash,
Sonic.
either you make it a mash A to win, or you clunk it down with platforming and remove what makes him special to the point where he's just a clunkier Mario.
Exactly.
And even then, it's like you make it press A to win, or it's way too precise because Mario has these distinct enemies that you can jump on, and like Sonic, you like in the games you jump on them in a specific place, but it's on their head or here, or like on a side. There it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work in 3D because it's one specific point, like the head of the robot instead of the whole top side.
Exactly.
Ultimately, you could come to the conclusion that the 3D Sonic, 3D momentum mechanics need to be perfected, or you could realize that maybe 2D isn't something we need to get rid of.
Exactly.
Honestly, I've played Sonic games, and the speedrun potential based on memorization of the map and also
Even-
just momentum building, maybe we don't need to move everything to 3D.
Even Bubsy understood that staying in 2D with like stylistically 3D, because they could move it to 3D like stylistically like Bubsy did, but like Bubsy, despite being the mediocre game that it is, still understood that. Well, Bubsy certainly was, I guess, a pleasant surprise. I have two main disappointments. I have a bunch of disappointments this year, but I have a couple gripes with Sonic Forces because it's just not good. Like for what we expected and what they gave us at E3 and all those, like what they showed us before, it was to
I'd
be
say
much
the biggest
better.
positive of that game was the fact you could customize your own character, and that wasn't even that good.
That could have been handled so much better in
Exactly.
a 2D environment. Like what Sonic team needs to do is bring, like, how Sonic Generations, they nailed the hammer and the dot for
Exactly.
Because yeah, they had the mash A to win levels, but most of the gimmick was using classic Sonic.
Yeah.
And just basically make Sonic Mania, a game like Sonic Mania, stylistically like that 3D type, like
Exactly.
stylistically 3D. So you can have your character customization, you can have all your gimmick cutscenes and everything, but it's in the gameplay. Sonic fails in the gameplay.
So to
and
recap-
it affects the story.
So to recap, my favorite game of the year, Shovel Knight. My least favorite game of the year, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
It's
Frost over here, his favorite game.
my favorite game is Mario Odyssey by far.
And least favorite?
I'm still not done. I have a bunch of least favorites right now. It's
You gotta
Bubsy's-
pick one.
I have to pick one. Oh.
If I had to pick my
Pick a
favorite,
genre.
I have to
Honestly,
pick-
this
I
year
have
a
to
genre
pick-
will fit.
I have to pick two games. One of them for basically pushing EA and a bunch of other AAA companies like Bungie into
Yeah.
making loot boxes the main one, which is Overwatch with Blizzard. Because I don't care what people say that it's just cosmetic. It's not cosmetic if it like Team Fortress 2. The hats and everything, they enhance the experience. Yeah, you have even footing and everything, and even then, not so much sometimes due to weapon imbalances. But the hats enhance the experience, and Valve realizes that. While lately they've been doing cases, the majority of cosmetics can be purchased elsewhere for much less, and you can just buy the item. Even unusuals like which you have to unbox, you can get them online for you can get the item that you want. Well, with Blizzard, these cosmetic items enhance the experience, right? Like, would you for the people that say it's cosmetic, usually have like legendary skins and stuff, and I have the question to ask them: Would you rather play every game with the exact same default character, or would you like a customized, like, would you rather like basic, boring Monk Zenyatta or Cthulhu Zenyatta?
Cthulhu.
Well, just in the thought of the Sonic disaster this year, you said it's a good thing it has character customization, something Sonic hasn't done before. Honestly, in terms of just every game, I think character customization is a bit overappreciated. I mean,
Well,
sure, in certain
it
games,
enhances the
it's really
experience, and it's-
important. Yeah, it makes it more
It's an experience enhancer, but
involving.
it should not be the main
It's
gimmick.
not the main gimmick of the game, which is why I was quite disappointed with Sonic Forces. I thought it would be an add-on. I didn't think it'd be their main selling point.
But Sonic Forces did character customization actually properly. You unlock more customization items that are cooler as you go on, or you have the choice to you have like rings and stuff. You sometimes have the choice to buy certain items, but specific items. It's not like Overwatch where you have to pay or earn a chance to have a chance, like to basically have a very minimal chance to have something good. Because most of the time,
And even if you do have something good, most of the
'Cause
time it's a duplicate.
it's a duplicate, or if you get a voice line and it's like you're gonna spend more until you get what you want. And Blizzard, Overwatch, it's just cosmetic, it affects nothing in the game. They have encouraged, with how much people spend on these boxes, other AAA companies to add it. Where like shaders for Destiny's guns,
Yeah.
they used to be all use use infinitely, but you can use them on any gun. Here, they're one-time use. They only come from loot boxes, and they're just cosmetic, but they give you personality in the game.
So for those who are in the audience who are confused, Frost, could you just say your least favorite instead of picking
All right,
like 8?
I'm picking 8. Okay, no, but biggest disappointment for you is Yooka-Laylee. 'Cause
Ukulele?
It got $2 million with rare developers and everything.
And A Hat in Time by
Had
far.
in time using more way less resources, way less talent on that team, made a more fun and engaging game. While Yooka-Laylee, the first sign was when they picked Unity. While Unity not inherently a bad thing, the demo was unimpressive, very unimpressive for how much money and time had gone by then. And the fact that they would just kick off JonTron for no reason than publicity, because to be honest, their game was not getting enough coverage, was the point. I mean, you're just bringing more attention to that, and you make people who didn't know about the issue, who don't support him, mad that he had never been. They hired him in the first place, and then the people who actually support him, wanted his voice in the game, are mad that they just fired him, even though they had nothing to do with this.
Exactly.
And Yooka-Laylee was just a mismanaged waste of talent, because even the soundtrack is bad compared to most other games this year, because it just doesn't find the right tonal balance. Where instead of Banjo-Kazooie had different tones for different areas, here
Yeah.
it's just kind of static. Where one area you're stuck listening to the same track coming back
Over and over and
and
over.
kind of like coins, the version of coins in the game, it just doesn't work because they're more secrets, and it's a collectathon, and so it's like the bananas in DK64 where you can find them everywhere, right?
I found myself stopping while playing Undertale just to appreciate soundtracks. Random Scene Nabstablook's house is a couple tape recordings you can play of different variation of a song. It's just catchy music. It's good for the
And it
game.
makes
I
you.
think I have the entire soundtrack. Frost, do you?
We're playing it right now.
Yeah, we have it right
But,
now. So we've got 2 of us have this soundtrack. Chair, do you have it?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, he's
It's on YouTube. We can get it anyways.
exactly.
but
The idea is all 3 of us. I only recently got Undertale, so I've been a fan of this franchise for a long time. Before even getting the game, I got the soundtrack.
The soundtrack
It's
is-
that kind of thing where even if you don't enjoy the game, you can sit and listen to the soundtrack.
you can
and
enjoy at least one piece. One piece
yeah,
is for you.
the diversity in the soundtrack as well. It fits each area
And,
so well.
Well, it doesn't overstay his welcome because the game is relatively short.
Yeah.
You want to both stay and listen to this song, but you want to move forwards in the game to see what comes next.
Like the New Home, I think it's called. That OST
and
is.
it all gives you this sense of familiarity. So you can remember this.
Yeah, no,
part.
absolutely.
And
You
you
get to
kind of
the-
get
the
this
house at the end,
euphoria
you know.
from listening that other. I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed those other songs.
I
This
remember-
one sounds similar. It's great.
After finishing the game, after going back, I've got a friend at school who's quite an accomplished piano player. I remember him sitting down and playing Home on piano, and I almost started crying because the true pacifist ending, you get it. Shut up. But you get the true pacifist ending, and it doesn't have that effect on me anymore. But you hear it again and you relive everything that you went through in that game, which is a great segue because now I believe we're getting to Chair's favorite games
No, we're
and
not,
least
I'm,
favorite.
we're not done with
I'm
my
done
gripes
with
about
you
ukulele.
because no, stop.
My tangent about ukulele is not done. Instead of making you want to, go forwards with like the game because with the soundtrack. Because
I'd like
it's
to
done.
quickly say I don't know what this game is.
Ukulele
Yeah.
is like the Banjo and Kazooie revival.
Just so
that,
you know, this podcast is basically Frost and myself, Pine, and we're going to be arguing, and Chair is going to be the middle ground, and
I'm in the corner here, sitting on my chair, which, by the way, is the most uncomfortable chair in this room compared to you two.
That's a shame,
Jose,
though,
you
isn't
just
it?
have
that's
a love
shame.
seat.
Maybe once we get some revenue, we'll be able to get a better chair for you.
Yeah. That's what our
Now,
budget's going
our
towards.
first budget is getting Pine a couch. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
and then you get
yeah.
yeah,
Then you
I'll
get
get
my
a chair.
chair.
I'll get a hand-me-down first.
No, he doesn't get the hand-me-down. We burn this chair, and then we get Shay.
Burn
then
that
we-
chair in Bonfire Celebration.
Oh, yeah.
Bonfire Celebration are actually making some revenue. Cha-ching. But instead of making you want to move forward to see what's
So we got to get Chair a new chair.
get. He
Well,
is
Harper
chair though.
ripped my last one in half.
Also, I feel like Shay is the most uncomfortable spot because you guys can't see it, but if you see there's 2 oranges and a banana arranged in the most peculiar position. Comedic,
We'll leave that up. We'll leave that up
Yeah,
to
we'll
the
leave that
imagination.
for the
comedic
imagination.
genius at work.
Okay,
Baby.
so we're done with ukulele.
No,
We're
because-
done.
No, I'm
No
not
more.
done.
No
I
more.
am not
We're
done.
finished. They don't want to hear it anymore.
Yes, they do.
Shh,
Instead of
shh.
making you
No, I
wanna
don't care.
go
I don't care. We're going to
forwards-
We're going to Chair.
No.
Chair, how would you?
I-
Why would you
this
say
is
your
my
favorite game
last
of the year is
thought.
Chair?
It's my last thought.
Fine,
You
you
can
have 30
finish,
seconds.
yeah.
All right, so instead of making you want to move forward in the game to see what's next,
In case you
I just got hit with an orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
probably
just got hit
heard
with
you
one
probably heard a
testicle,
pleasant
that joke.
thud in the mic.
I just got hit with one second of that joke. So, but the point is, instead of make you want to move forward, the soundtrack and overall atmosphere of ukulele just make you want to begrudgingly get over with it. Shay don't. But yeah, that's ukulele is my biggest disappointment of the year, and back to Pine after he's done yelling at me.
yeah.
It's his job.
So
Jose.
again, just to recap, because last time I recapped, I thought he was done, and then he went on for like 8 more minutes. Don't start clucking.
Do you know the way, brother?
Next time it might just be Chair and I hosting. We're not sure yet.
Yeah,
but,
we're still deciding budget cuts.
exactly.
We don't have
Um,
budget yet.
Hey,
But
so
Cher-
for
Cher's
recaps-
father says I'm prettier than both of his past girlfriends. I'm living
No,
the high life
both
here.
of his current girlfriends at the same time.
What are we having, like a 4-way here, shit?
YouTube friendly. YouTube friendly.
This is ad friendly. We are 4-way can mean 4-way Mario Party.
Oh yeah, yeah. So to recap, my favorite game of the year, Shovel Knight, based on DLC. Least favorite was Star Wars Battlefront. We've got Frost over here, whose favorite game of the year was.
Mario Odyssey, and my least favorite was ukulele for being garbage.
And now we've got great description. We're going over to Chair.
You want another half-hour description or not?
We're gonna go over to Chair. What would you say your favorite game was and why?
Well, frankly, I decided before this, if I couldn't decide on the spot which one I liked the most, there's no point in it being my decision. If I can't think right now which is my favorite game, well then, if I'm unsure about it, then clearly it's not my favorite game.
Well,
And
pick one that
honestly-
you'd say you'd enjoyed immensely, or you liked the soundtrack or art style, just in general.
Well, now that I'm here, I have no idea. But Jose gave me a really good idea for my least
like
favorite
this.
game of the year.
I don't like this.
It's a
we-
game that I had completely forgotten about that I bought. I paid $83 because of taxes.
Yeah.
I had completely
love
forgotten
taxes.
about it, and then you just reminded me of it.
Which one? Bubsy?
You ready? You ready for a disaster of the year? That actually,
Bubsy?
honestly, wasn't very advertised. Wasn't a very
Force.
heavy
Stop
launch.
talking.
It wasn't a very heavy death, and it wasn't a very heavy life either. It was all just a bit soft, and people know it exists. But aside from that, it's not. And you're gonna agree with me. Destiny 2.
I didn't enjoy Destiny 2.
It's DLCs instead of being Destiny as a general was a great concept where it's kind of like you get to this expansive Star Wars-esque universe with
Which
the
everybody's
gameplay
gonna
is
jump on.
good, but it's just a grind.
Exactly.
Either you pay, and it's so distinct in multiplayer. It isn't even competitive. Like they're raids. Either you have the equipment that you either grinded 10 hours for, or you bought the loot boxes. You have the gear, or you don't. And
So
it's
just
such
to be
a
clear,
stark difference.
because I'm not very confused. I'm pretty confused at this point. Is this your favorite or least favorite
This
of the?
is my least favorite game of the year
Okay.
Doesn't
because
have a
of
favorite.
the. Well, I'll get into that unless you two want to finish your surprised opinions.
No, I'm good.
We're good.
There we go. I was because I had Destiny 1. I had it on the PlayStation 3, and almost got it on the PlayStation 4 because I think it was remastered, or remastered just means republished. But I got Destiny 2 because I love Destiny 1 as much as it was still a grind. But the thing that differs the two games is Destiny 1 knew what it was doing. I found that Destiny 2 I get in and the campaign is just
It's
short
murky
and
at
weird
best.
and honestly, I'm not saying I hated the campaign, but I couldn't tell what the game wanted. I didn't know if it wanted to be an MMO or if it wanted to be a story-led, and honestly, it felt like they were aiming for a story-led but loosely, and so they ended up more of an MMO, which is I guess what Destiny is at its best,
But-
is the multiplayer aspect. But I just
Sacrifices
found
gameplay.
I got to the end of the story and there wasn't much, anything's changed. No, I was still roaming around. The only thing that changed is there's, a newly built tower to roam around, but the game just kept going. The story
way it
was
was.
just the story was a tutorial. The rest of the game was grinding. The problem is once you get to the end of the story, you're level 20 and you can't get higher than level 20.
Yeah.
So you're left there with the light level, which is just what gear you have if you're unaware. And so you just it's a grind. And honestly, with 3 of my friends playing all together, I don't mind a grind. It can be a bit of fun if I'm bored. But
Friends
it just
are a foreign concept for me, so I'm already confused, my dude.
well, you don't have Destiny 2 either. So yeah, I mean, you don't need to
I have
consider
nothing.
all
I have
aspects.
nothing.
At this point, he's just here for a comedic value.
My life is a good a
Diversity, acceptance.
good joke.
So, least favorite game of the year for Chair over here is
Destiny
2.
which is just it wasn't talked about much, and it wasn't a very heavy launch. It was a slow fade into death. It didn't die or anything. It just existed and was gone.
Well, if you can't pick your favorite game of the year, I'm gonna pick for you.
I'm picking my favorite game of the year because
Or
when it
you
comes
get
to
the belt,
favorite game of the
fine.
year,
Yeah.
I can look at objectively favorite game of the year. If I look at it as an object, this is a game. What should it be doing?
Shh.
Exactly. No, that's what I'll get to. But ultimately, it's a game. What should it be doing? And one side of me comes down to they're meant for fun.
Exactly.
If I'm not enjoying the game, or not always fun, but emotion, like Undertale is a sad game, and I had fun through feeling other things for it because I got really attached to it.
Heavy
Yes,
Rain
Frost.
is a game that is all sad.
Heavy Rain is the game that was popular because of the sex scene in it.
We're not talking about Heavy Rain. We're talking about Chair's favorite
I
game of
like
the year.
Heavy Rain.
Don't bring in Heavy Rain.
Nobody knows about Heavy Rain. It's just the sex scene. I haven't seen it, but all I know about the game, aside from the title,
I actually
is that
didn't
it
know there
has
was a sex scene
trying
in
to
it.
be realistic looking graphics, and there's a sex scene. That's all
Get
I know
off
because
the
that's
topic
all
of
that's
Heavy Rain.
publicized.
I actually didn't know there was a sex scene. Thanks for ruining it. All
Yeah,
right,
ruined now. But ultimately, if a game is fun or something like that, if I enjoy playing it, then that's what it's for. In general, if I get an hour per dollar, then that's worth it. Which is why AAA games usually don't cut it for me. And indie games can, even if they're a small concept that plays with itself, like an arcade type game, just getting high scores, that could still occupy me for the $5 the game was.
Yeah.
Or the other side of the argument, or of my own argument with myself, is objectively not just for the fun, but if you look at everything aside from fun, which can include graphics, arguably, it can include the gameplay. And the things that a game should have. And if I'm looking at that, then I gotta say I love Skyrim because I played it the other day, and I got in the game and I just got on a horse and went to a random town, and I've played that game a good 50 hours.
Yeah.
And so I get somewhere and I'm thrown into a whole different quest line that I have never touched on before at all.
The thing with Skyrim, sure, I agree with you. It's a masterpiece.
I'm not saying it's my game of the year.
Well, why are we talking about it,
It
then?
can be a game of the year. It can be your game of the year.
It can
Since
be
it's
the game of-
released-
Released
It's re-released
every
every year.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was
Bethesda's
gonna
nothing
say.
new.
That's what I was gonna say.
Bethesda's nothing new.
No,
so
Bethesda's crap.
Creation Club. Buy your mud crab reskins for $15 a pop today.
What I was gonna say is Skyrim. Sure,
Sponsored by Bethesda.
no, it isn't. We're not sponsored. If you're interested, contact us. What I was gonna say is Skyrim, but it's a great game by far. It's one of my favorites. Just looking at gameplay, it seems like an amazing game. The fact that they re-release it for the same amount of money, they re-release it, don't do anything, and instead of updating the game, like sure there's a lot in it already.
They still haven't fixed bugs.
They haven't fixed bugs
from the original version.
Exactly.
It's just better water shaders, and it's like, wow, modders gave us better water shaders, but instead of better water shaders and fixes, but instead of putting that in Creation Club, which might actually be useful, or making it as a shocker free update, you give us mud crab skins. I love those.
Yeah.
I love having my mud crab be harder to kill. You know.
Yeah. So let's get on to your game of the year then, Cher.
My game of the year, if I rate it through which game, and honestly, over the summer, I don't play too many video games, but if I look at the year as a whole, 2017, starting from last Christmas, my game of the year, I'm going to rank it off of which I've played the most. Because honestly, that's therefore shows it's worth the most money of all of them if I've gotten the most time out of it, in my opinion. And so,
that's one way of looking at it.
There's a lot of different ways of looking at this game as a game, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is my game of the year.
I would argue, but I'm not going to because I don't have it, so I'm not gonna make a fool of myself.
It brings us back to a lot of people argue. A lot of people love the game and they come back to microtransactions. In online, you can buy online currency, and I have bought online currency.
Disgusting. Get out.
Scum, you're fired.
I didn't know
you're
what I
fired
want.
despite giving us the equipment. You know, just leave your own house. Get out.
Yeah,
Take
bye.
the penis banana with you.
We told them we'd leave it to their imaginations, Jose. You just ruined the artistic genius.
The comedic genius on set.
It keeps our comedy levels up. We look at it for inspiration.
Oh yeah.
You took one of the testicles out, though. You
not my
threw one of
fault.
them at me.
You deserved a thud on the shoulder.
On that note, we shall change topics because, well, let's recap quickly first. This is like the fourth recap I've done.
I sure love recaps.
Oh
you know.
yes,
They're
I
totally
enjoy these. Shovel Knight, Star Wars Battlefront, Jose over here,
Odyssey and ukulele.
and Chair.
Least favorite game is Destiny 2 by far, and for the amount I've played it, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Cool. Our next topic, difficulty and fairness in games. Now I know this has been touched on by several people. I believe PewDiePie made a video on it when Cuphead came out after Polygon. What are you doing?
I can kick this
Jose's
one off
like-
if you want.
Okay. Yeah, Chair, go ahead. Take it from here.
Okay, so to start from a really drastic example, which I've personally experienced, just to, kick off, what do we exactly mean by difficulty and fairness in games? We're going to look into Cuphead, Shovel Knight, that sort of thing. But just to start it off, the Lego Movie video game
Oh, that
pointed
just
arrows
gross.
at every single objective you had to
you
go
have
to.
to look at market. This thing was marketed for people who would be using Lego Duplo at this point. So not
Exactly,
even
and that
actual
brings
Lego.
us in so many directions because
So
we
there's
could say, well,
market-
if it's aimed at kids, then it doesn't need
Yes,
to be
but
difficult.
There are games like Cuphead where they're evidently not aimed at kids. Like the style implies that.
The
but
fact that it's called
more-
Don't Deal with the Devil, I think is a great indicator that it's not meant for kids, that the main enemy is Satan. I think that's a pretty good
a
obvious
brown
point.
Satan. Dun,
Are you gonna make a joke about his color, Jose?
No,
We can get a new Mexican. We don't need
No,
you.
no. Oh, no, Shay, do not, Chair, do not throw the fruit. Don't.
Yeah,
Put
okay,
that
I'll
down.
leave your comedy alone.
Yeah.
It's my artistic genius.
So we're talking about difficulty in video games. Chair. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I played a lot when I was a kid because it was kind of what was out then. Indiana Jones, Star Wars, that sort of game. Star Wars Lego, Indiana Jones Lego on the Wii, the original Wii, which was a beautiful console. And I found difficulty in that. I think if I went back nowadays, I'd still find difficulty. I play those games and I'd honestly have trouble playing them because there's an occasional puzzle that's not obvious, and you could argue that they're not smart puzzles, they're just stupidly unobvious things. But the Lego movie, yeah, it's directed at kids, but if you don't make things a bit more difficult in video games, because I honestly think I've learned from games, and if you don't put them a bit higher difficulty than they are at, then the games are just going to be an interactive film at that point. It's no longer a game.
And that's part of why I get that Cuphead, you have to beat it at the difficulty that it selects. Because if you put it on simple, it's too easy, and it's just a visual novel.
At that point, yeah.
It's just a cartoon.
It's no longer a boss rush. Now it's essentially a dating sim, but with you're just instead of dating them, you're just trying to kill them.
Yeah,
Wow, I
can't
sure
say
love
I've thought
dating
of it that
sims
way.
where you end up killing people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a happy coincidence that it turns into a shooting game by the time it would turn into a.
You know that
It's
would
like
Dramatic
those dating
arts.
sims where you just start hating the people and you're just like, I wish I could kill them. That's what Cuphead does. That gives you the opportunity to just
Yeah,
kill
but
them,
there's
but you
al-
hate them from the
that'd
start.
be great. You just don't like any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a dating sim where you have to kill off the cast.
Hating
Doki Doki does that for you. Okay.
really hateable characters.
Yeah, but there's not
Oh,
enough
God.
cast. There's not enough cast. Like, there's not, and even in Cuphead, there's only one that the internet has ruined.
We're not going to touch on that. Difficulty and fairness, I think we can all agree. If a game isn't aimed at kids, don't make it easier. Even if it is aimed at kids, don't make it easier.
should-
They can
I
tough
think-
it out and wait.
I think
Professor Layton in the Diabolical Box was a game.
It's a difficult game.
It's a very difficult game. It took me 5 years. When I was 8 years old, I got this game.
You can tell by advertisement graphic style, it is aimed at kids.
It is aimed at kids, but it took me 5 years to beat it. But I never reset once.
but,
I didn't wait until I was older. I tried every day. And in fact, a lot of my logical reasoning and math skills came from playing Professor Layton. And I can tell Jose is having an aneurysm over here.
Nintendo is awful at marketing in general. Like, they market
no, that's
games
not an
for the
argument.
wrong. They market games at the wrong type of audience.
Yeah.
Like right now, the port for the Switch is actually starting to be marketed towards children. Dark Souls port for the Switch is going to be marketed towards children.
Dumb.
And, Tropical Freeze.
We're not
Switch-
talking about
the
Nintendo's
Switch
inability
is
to
a
market at the
young
moment. We're
teenager's
talking about
console.
difficulty in video games. I think we can all agree that difficulty
I
should
love-
be up to the creator. If they believe that it's too hard, they'll lower it. But if the creator can beat their own game, then yeah, by far, they should have permission to make it as hard or as easy as they want.
Have the creators even beaten Battle? Has anybody who's worked at Rare even beaten Battletoads though? Have they even gotten past the second level?
The
We're not
guy
talking
who
about
invented the
that.
Rubik's
Difficulty.
Cube never actually solved one.
No, it took him 2 weeks to be 2 weeks.
You
Of
sure?
like without sleeping or anything, it took him 2
Oh,
weeks.
yeah, well,
Well, that would explain it then, yeah. But it's like getting over it
explains
with Bennett Foddy. If any of you follow PewDiePie, you saw how long it took him, and he practically had a mental breakdown in one of his videos.
Yeah.
And then-
Bennett Foddy, he said even in the game, he says several times he was going to lower the difficulty, but he couldn't bring himself to do it because he saw if I can do it, there's going to be someone out there who can do it in 3 minutes. There's going to
There
be
is
someone out
somebody who-
there.
There was 3 minutes 23
No,
seconds.
1 minute 56 seconds is the current world record.
But that's
on
the
YouTube.
thing. If I can do it, someone out there is going to be much better than me, and I made this game. But there's also going to be people who are worse than me. And it shouldn't be up to me to decide if the people worse than me are going to be able to beat this game. It should be up to their own skill, how long they spend on it, and how dedicated they are to this game.
No, creator's
And I
just
think that's
another
a great
human.
idea. Let creators decide. And if the game's too hard for you, get a different game.
Yeah,
I
the
feel
game
like-
is what it is.
No, I feel like for reviewers specifically, the developer should like I don't think we should put this on the developer, but like on the developer to do it should be just on journalists who make their lives off of playing games. To
If
just
you're
be
going to make
better
your
games.
livelihood off of games, Polygon,
Um,
you better be pretty damn good at playing them.
I'm awful at games, but then again, I'm
you
not
call it a
making it my
livelihood?
living to talk about them.
Yeah.
But my basic issue is that like if their game is hard and you know that reviewers are gonna have trouble with it. I mean, look at Insanity; it had a 6.5 on IGN because the creator didn't even get halfway through any of the games. But I would prefer if the developers made it the review copies less difficult. Like basically a super easy mode or something, so the reviewer can actually appreciate the game for what it is in entirety instead of, and it would also contribute to the rat race that is getting out first, it would definitely benefit reviewing legitimacy in reviews.
Ultimately, you got to decide a difficulty, and arguing about it, you got to roll with it unless it's too easy noticeably. If everybody can do it way easier than it should be, then you got to change something.
Let me
but
just think. Sorry for interrupting, but I just thought of a scenario where I was a bit of a hypocrite. Fire Emblem. I played Fire Emblem till the very end. I can't remember the exact game it was, but it was one of the newer ones. But I played it till the very end. Final battle. I spent so long in that battle, I just got fed up and I lowered the difficulty to beat it. And I am disappointed in myself because I lowered the difficulty to beat it. I played through the entire game on normal and then I lowered it to casual for the final fight.
I
the
apologize,
final
you
fight.
don't get the soul contract for that game.
Yeah, but it's the type of thing where I didn't get the full the pleasure of beating the game, but at the same time, I feel content that I got to see the end of the story arc. But so it's a split topic for me. Sure.
It's also in the type of game where if it's something like a Fire Emblem where it is an option and the game is long enough on that difficulty, but if it's something like Cuphead where it's basically
boss rush.
It's not even worth playing. It's not worth your money if it was beatable on simple. The point of simple is to kind of give you a trial run of the level.
The thing with Fire Emblem is that it can be chosen to be a military strategy game, or it can also be chosen to be a story-based game. And I was playing it more for story, which is why I don't feel as disgusted with myself that I lowered the difficulty. But I can see where some people are coming from. But in games where it's Cuphead, in games where difficulty is the point, no one's going to ever ask Dark Souls to lower their difficulty because difficulty is the point.
In fact, they're going to compare everything to Dark Souls since they have no other connections.
Dark Souls, Dark Souls 4 comes out, Polygon, it's the Dark Souls of a...
But my issue with Cuphead is that, like, with the journalism is if you can't beat the tutorial, which gives you arrows and tells you exactly when to press things,
then you shouldn't be reviewing the game. You don't get a pass.
You do not get the right to call the rest of the game too hard if you can't beat the tutorial that tells you the controls, when to press them, and like exactly how to press them,
and this is actually
without enemies or anything. It's just regular.
And this is actually a beautiful transition into our next topic, which is journalism of video games.
It's a rat race.
It is a rat race. The thing is, as soon as a game comes out, they're going to send as many people as they can to beat it, or to even just report on it, which means that it's never going to be, the reports are never going to be as good or as accurate as they could be.
The language is always so overused. I mean, it's the Dark Souls of has literally become sort of a...
It's a meme at this point.
A meta meme because, journalism has nothing to do. It's just like, it's not... And also, it's kind of like, it's the Dark Souls. I mean, it's like Dark Souls isn't the end-all, be-all. You could say it's the Battletoads of, or...
Exactly.
It's the Contra of, but, like, there's still no connection because they're completely unless you're saying Cuphead is similar to Contra in difficulty because they are similar genres. You can't say like Battletoads is like the Mario Party of this. Like you just can't. They're different.
You can't say that. And again,
different games.
I'm gonna point fingers at Polygon, and this isn't a good idea because we're starting a YouTube channel.
Oh boy,
and
I sure love hit pieces on me when we're at 2 subscribers. One of them being me.
Oh yes.
No, it's just each other.
We subscribe to ourselves. That's how we make the revenue.
Oh
Just watch our video. We just have
over and over. It's on loop in the background. We're actually watching it right now. It's not even up.
We're just re-recording.
We're gonna be with Polygon. If you're gonna review a game, don't rush to finish the game. Don't rush to do it. Take your time, enjoy the game. Look at the game for the reasons that people are gonna play the game. Calling Cuphead racist? In what way? Was a game that's aimed to be, it's an artistic, it's soundtrack, it's not at all racist.
The argument for it being racist, in a sense, was that it comes from a era where many racial stereotypes were used because it was accepted. But you know what they did?
It does.
They took out all the racist parts of it. Like,
they've taken something that has a bit of an
They took out all the controversy. Like, they made it as clean as possible. Like, what are you gonna ask next?
It's like saying jazz came from an era of slavery, therefore jazz is now racist. Anyone who listens to jazz is a racist.
Ironically, Cuphead also has a lot of jazz, so that's not the best case. But aside from one boss which will not be named,
who
shall not be named. Tentacles.
Discreet, nice.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's more than one with tentacles. I'm sure you can consider any appendage a tentacle.
We're not going to talk about this.
Especially
but
to the internet.
Polygon, don't criticize a game. Just don't criticize a game for the sake of criticizing a game. If you have a valid point, go ahead and bring it up. Don't be a social justice warrior for the sake of pandering to an audience that isn't playing the video games anyways.
It's not even that they're pandering. They know that they have nothing new to offer to the table, so they can just... They give the most polarizing opinion on something to attract clicks.
They're the Leafy's here of game journalists.
No, because Leafy at least had something to come for. Yes, he was a total dick. Nobody liked him. But Polygon, on purpose, just gives the most polarizing opinion and waits for people to complain, because once again, especially for clicks on a journalism site, the more people who come to see it, despite
more revenue
for
you're
what
getting.
reason, you are getting more ad revenue regardless.
It's the shock value. If you have the title "Cuphead is racist," a lot more
or
people
the
are going to.
problematic Knuckles meme, right?
Yeah, the more people are going to see that and be like, "Cuphead is racist," and they're going to click on
They're
that.
gonna click
if
on
you
that.
have if you have the title, "Cuphead wins
Cuphead's
Game
art-
of the Year,"
No,
Cuphead's
Cuphead's art style comes from a racist root.
no one's going to click on that because nobody cares.
It's the most polarizing opinion because once again, all press is good press, and it's a philosophy that goes very well
Bad
with
press
game
can be
journalism.
better press.
Bad press could mean that
Bad
in the
press-
end, an audience that enjoys what you do is
Because
going to
it's
find
kind
you.
of the 1%, where let's say there are 1,000,000 people who disagree with you. 1% of that's 1,000 people who agree with you. That's 1,000 people that are new followers of you.
And now you have a million
And
people
you've-
who are going to
you've
come and
added-
click to see
And
what
plus,
you've done
you
new
have
that's
that
wrong.
Already millions. Plus, but that 1% that actually agrees with you, that's the new. That's adds to your following. So if you just keep making the most controversial and brain dead statement over and over again, that 1% piles up really quickly.
I think the issue with publicity, game reviewers, and game news sites is that when they started out, it was about when they started out as people in their basements with recording software, just like how every YouTube thing started, where they decide, I like this game. I'm going to put up a video of my opinions on it. The problem is the publicity and the news sites have become an industry, and so what happens is, I think the root of the issue is that you should not review a game for the sake of reviewing it. You should play the game for the sake of playing it and review it because you have an opinion about having played it. The problem is they play the games to make an opinion of it, which doesn't give you a clear opinion of the game because you're not the average person out there
And
playing
also,
the
can
game.
we talk about the ratings they put on them? If you're going to put a 7 out of 10, like IGN,
Honestly, the
they-
ratings aren't even to be trusted. It's easier to look at user reviews because these are
these are people who actually play the games.
Wait 2 days after the review's up, because that's like a day. You need at least a day to digest this game. It doesn't matter how early you get the game or if you get it on launch date. You need time to digest
The fact
the
that
media. Like,
IGN always gives 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 as, it's a decent game. Any game
Means
starts
that-
at a 5. If it goes down from a 5, that means
No,
that there are
for-
problems with it. If it's above a 5, that means it's got some critics.
No,
5 is directly in the middle, I'd say.
I usually, like, with my ratings, I prefer to start at like 0 and then it works its way up.
See, that's the issue again. With every website, it's different. Like, for example,
We
Pine.
have set opinions that we will stick to regardless. You know whose opinion you are getting from.
But this is an interesting
you have
concept
you have
because
Lispy
myself,
here,
Pine.
you have Mexican, and you have
Chair.
person in the corner.
Yeah.
Right? You know who's talking and you know whose opinion is being stated.
Exactly.
Especially with Lispy.
Don't make fun of my list.
Lispy.
I am
Oh, that's good.
speed.
Okay, but if you think about it for a second, this is another problem with rating systems. They're not saying what they think about it because for me, 5 is the dead center. For Jose, 0 is the dead center, and it goes down and up from there. But we
Zero-
don't know
Mine,
with
it
the
starts
rating
at 0
systems.
and it goes up. Like
Exactly.
Battlefront, like let's say something like Ukulele, it starts going up, but it kind of stops flat at a 4.
Yeah, but that's
Instead
the
of
issue.
something like Cuphead, which will still continue impressing to a 7, which is when the problems become substantial enough to prevent it from going.
But that's the
further.
issue with ratings like this is because we don't know
random.
the idea that the website has or the journal has behind their rating. We're unaware of. Does it start at 5?
It's
Does
always,
it start at
it's
7?
always the same
Where
language.
is their
Where it's either repetitive, great graphics. It's like it's either repetitive or not. It's either too difficult or not. Graphics are either good or not. It's not the style. They say nothing about the style. Like on all the Arkham games, in every review site there is, aside from like unique commentators and stuff, it's always. You feel like Batman, right?
That's
you
the
feel
only
like
thing.
Batman. You could use this jacket.
Immersion
gadget.
is a huge thing to sell a game.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
But
you
if
can't use the
every
same
single
language.
review uses you
feel
like Batman.
And don't go further into detail. Like you can't say it. Like the combat feels so crisp. You actually feel like those blows are landing. Like that's more detail. It's not. I feel like Batman. I can use all
Yeah.
the gadgets.
You know
It's-
who I feel is my
feel crisp.
favorite reviewer on Steam? There's Critiquing Doge, I believe is the name. He's made a meme out of it, And honestly, I will trust his reviews more than Polygon's.
Because if they make a joke out of it, they're not going to lie to you.
Exactly.
Like
because
Donkey is a type of he has very polarizing opinions, but not in the sense that like Polygon, where it's to get clicks. His opinion is his own. You come to him for him, and you can. There's a
you
very
can trust that what he's telling you is the
stark
truth.
contrast between his serious videos and his joke videos, where he can play something like Smash Bros, like when the time he beat Sky in Smash.
That was so funny.
But the point is that you can tell that that's a fun video. But then
Yeah.
you can review Banjo-Tooie, and you can tell he did not like it due
Not
to
at
how
all.
grindy it
When
was.
I'm watching Donkey, I don't watch him because I don't watch him to see what he thinks of the game. I watch him because he's a funny guy.
Exactly.
But on
But the
games like-
thing is, because he gives you the opinion of the game during it, you're interested in what he says because he's a
remember
funny
what-
guy. You like listening to him, and then by stating his opinions while you're enjoying his videos, they kind of get hardwired into you. I believe what he believes unintentionally, which you could argue is bad, but ultimately he's another guy
He leaves you to
playing a
think for
game and he
yourself.
states what he sees about it. And so if I believe
He
that,
could
well,
be
that's probably
anybody.
what I'd think
He
if I
could be
played the game
anybody with
myself
any
anyway.
opinion. Like especially with game journalism, you come to him for him. If you go to IGN, you click on the writer. They've never written. This is their first piece, and they've just been there for like 2 days.
Because they're reviewing for the job of reviewing. They're not
Exactly.
reviewing
No,
because they have a game
they're
and a
just
good opinion
freelance
about it.
writers. I mean, I would be fine if IGN had a set 8 to 10 writers, but you knew exactly who they were and how they felt, and if
This
they
is
all
why
reviewed a game.
I enjoy critiquing Doge, because it's only one guy. I can tell the style of games he's going to enjoy more. So I can tell if a game, just as an example, if he enjoys games like PUBG and Fortnite, I can tell that Pokemon, he might not give as high of a rating for a new Pokemon game, but that could just be because I can tell what he's enjoying. And
Oh, don't you all love cold tea?
oh yeah.
I left the teabag in there too long.
And it's cold.
Yeah, Jose's dying. I think this might be our last topic or second last. We're gonna talk about Nintendo in terms of being the flip side of the market. If you look at games,
Well, stuff like EA,
Well,
Blizzard, Ubisoft,
You
Activision.
started off the game of the year and worst game of the year. I started off the next one, whatever the heck it was. So Frost, how about
So
you
we
go
are
at
going-
this
Exactly.
one?
So Nintendo, I mentioned this earlier. They're usually, let's say, like on most things, a solid decade behind. Well, like EA, Ubisoft, Activision, they push the bill whether it's good or not. And it's usually, and nowadays it's never good. It's always anti-consumer and.
Well, there's occasionally an accidental
Acti-
success.
if you look at CD
Activi-
Projekt Red,
Okay,
they're an amazing game developer.
Yes, but they don't push the envelope of
Exactly.
the whole industry. Like
Yes.
Activision has recently patented some matchmaking that just it's disgusting. Because it pairs you up at a deliberate disadvantage of people who have the equipment and show it off to you. And when you buy the equipment that they have, they put you in a match and make you deliberately do good.
Yeah.
And it's a cycle just to make money. And Call of Duty World War II, while they claim it does not have it, it does. It's pretty obvious that it does sometimes, and multiple Reddit posts and stuff has exposed them for this. But for the most part, it seems harmless.
What I'm gonna say here is, I'm gonna be very biased. My first ever console was a DS Lite. I am a huge fan of Nintendo in every possible way. Don't do it, okay? Frost has a can of whipping cream, and he's holding it over his face like he's just gonna pour it over, and that's disgusting. Stop.
Comedic genius at work here.
Oh yeah, but Nintendo is by far my favorite
Yeah.
company. Like at school, they'll have polls about like, oh, do you prefer Xbox, PlayStation?
They do?
They do occasionally.
Sure.
I'm the only person who ever says Nintendo because
Selective polling at this point. 'Cause I
Exactly.
never get these. Do you get these polls?
No.
but
It's selective
Well,
polling.
it's probably it's probably
But-
his class.
what I was saying was Nintendo is you don't find the games that Nintendo's putting out. Take a look at Pokemon. There aren't other alternatives to Pokemon anywhere in the market. If you take a look at Mario,
Well,
you've got Crash and Sonic, but they don't stack up.
and they don't hold up as well. Like you can still play Mario 64 today.
And it's
and
still a
hold
good
up.
game.
Play the original Crash or play Sonic Adventure. It's a mass bug fest, and with especially with Crash, you have to play the remake.
Chair came over and we were playing on my Xbox, on my original Xbox, and
Nice to know that I have friends, right, guys?
yeah, I don't like Jose, so I didn't invite him. But we were playing Sonic.
You know, you've never asked.
We were playing Sonic Heroes. Does anyone remember Sonic Heroes? That
All right,
that
I'm
beauty of that gem of a game.
Now I'm glad I didn't come over.
A 3D
Yeah.
platformer. It's not even a platformer. It tries to
It
do
isn't
momentum.
a platformer.
Isn't it like the first press mash A to win one?
It is.
Oh.
If you're in
I'm glad I didn't
if you're in
know.
Sonic mode, you just mash A, and it tries to do momentum, and you know you'll get short bursts of momentum for like 7 or 8 seconds, and it's done. But if you take a look at Nintendo games from that era, you're getting games that are in for the long haul. You look at Pokemon, that's been around for 20 years. If it's beaten out, Pokemon's the #1 most sold. They've sold more merch than Star Wars, beating them by 13 billion. It's the biggest franchise in the world.
To be
But-
fair, if you combine that's one franchise, but like Disney as a whole now.
Exactly.
They have Marvel, Star Wars.
But we're not-
Cars alone is basically Pixar's monopoly.
Yeah, we're not talking about that though. We're talking about Pokemon in terms of a franchise. Nintendo, while it might be behind, it stays up to date in graphics. It stays up to.
It's not.
It doesn't stay up to date. It takes its own path.
It takes its own path.
It has stylistically, it has graphics that look nice on almost everything.
Yeah.
Kind of defeating the argument of they have weak hardware, they're superior, they're inferior. Like Xbox, it's like yeah, you can play Minecraft in 4K, but
What's the point? It's Minecraft.
do you have Mario? Like, do you have the stylistically the look that it like you see Gears of War now, and it just doesn't age well.
Well, you don't need realistic looking graphics.
Well-
You don't need an Unreal Engine running a 12K triple monitor setup with exact
Most people
pixel
don't have that.
recreations, of environments that are actually computer generated, and they look incredible because these things can in fact look incredible. They can't turn them into games; it takes too much space.
They don't hold.
But
up
you don't
though.
need that. What you need is a style. Mario Odyssey doesn't look as realistic as Destiny 2 or Grand Theft Auto 5,
But in the same way,
has
it's
its
a beautiful
style.
game.
10 years from now, Mario Odyssey will be reflected upon as having like better visuals than anything that was released like
Because if
close
you
in
look
this
back
era.
10
'Cause
years
you
from
see
today,
Overwatch, it's like squeaky clean and nice for now, but stylistically, it still has a shelf life.
yeah,
'Cause
10
it
years from
just-
today, you're gonna look back and you're gonna go,
It's like-
you're gonna look at Gears of War,
Have
and you're
any-
gonna see what you're gonna have then, and it's gonna be so much more realistic.
Have
You're gonna
any-
look at Mario, and you're gonna be able to tell, yeah, this isn't what they had at the time. Wasn't what the best was, but it holds up. It holds up
Have
like
you seen
64.
Madagascar today?
Madagascar today is
It's the comparison where you see Toy Story, a much older, more dated movie.
you're
And
talking about the movie
it holds
series.
up and looks less choppy than Madagascar because Madagascar kind of tried to push the envelope with
Animation.
animation from that era.
I had really
Well, Toy
fond
Story.
memories of Madagascar movies just as a child.
The
I liked the
original,
idea of
look at
them,
it
but I
now, it's
rewatched it
awful.
a couple days ago just for the sake of I haven't seen that since I was a
Yeah.
kid, and it did not live up to
It
my
doesn't
fond
age,
memories.
it doesn't age well.
It didn't
Toy
age
Story-
well
Look
at
at
all.
Toy Story now. That is the first movie ever like completely animated with computer animation. Still looks good. It's
If-
like looking at Mario 64 now,
Yeah.
where it's like the comparison can be added to video games where
And-
form will always hold up better than fashion. Where,
exactly
Like something like Cuphead will still look amazing years from now
because it does what it wants
it
to do.
chooses a style, does it excellently, and over realistic graphics, realism in games will always get better.
If you perfect your
styli-
style, you don't need to get
but
better.
But
Exactly.
stylistically, games that have like a distinct style will be remembered more fondly and will look better. Like the water looks like actual water, but like Mario looks like it's
You
a
can
s-
understand that the water is water and it looks good, even if it
looks
doesn't
good.
look realistic.
it doesn't like it's perfect. Like it's
Yeah.
a perfect like how games should look. Because like yes, there are games that should look realistic, but they just won't age well. Like
Those
you see the
games-
original Call of Duties,
They're
Com-
not as
or look at GoldenEye, who
Their
like,
graphics didn't age incredibly badly,
not very badly, but
GoldenEye.
but they're noticeably old. You can
Yeah.
tell they're old.
GoldenEye, you
and
can tell that
this
it's
is gonna
horribly
hold
old.
up. This is going back to my Nintendo argument. They're behind. They're always going to be behind.
They've just started making people pay for online
for
access.
better
Exactly.
or for worse, though.
But if you go back, if you look 20 years ago, Pokemon, I'm going to go back to Pokemon quite a bit because I'm quite familiar with the franchise. If you go
Oh,
back,
joy.
yeah. If you go back 20 years to their first games, Red, Blue, and Yellow, you can play them today and enjoy. Yeah. Oh, right. For any Japanese audience, blue, green, and red.
They changed the colors.
No. It's
because blue and green. I'm pretty sure it was blue, green, and red originally, but I'm pretty sure it's blue and green were the original two, and then they improved the version with
red.
Red,
And then in
that was
the
one. That
US.
was the one that was shipped. Of course, they messed up a bunch of the sprites because Nintendo still had no idea what it was doing.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. If you go back and you play the original Pokemon game, all the Pokemon games today have the same mechanics as 20 years ago. The reason it holds the test of time,
Actually, no. Red and blue don't hold the first generation that holds up stylistically because it was Gen 2.
I rather enjoyed Red and Blue. I'd say that it was one of the most difficult Pokemon games by far because at that time
Look at the
they were still
sprites.
finding their audience.
Look at the sprites.
The sprites were disgusting, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is it holds up. You can go back and play it and have fun.
I would still play the remakes. I would recommend the remakes over the original because it's just the remakes in Pokemon are just improvements from future generations.
Well,
passed
because
over.
Thinking of remakes, Diamond and Pearl, Nintendo hit me up, and
Hit me up for ideas.
yeah,
Sponsor us, please. I want that YouTube ad
I want
revenue.
money. Thank
Give
you.
me money.
But
That
you
we
can go back and play them. Like I was going back and I was playing, as I was saying, Sonic Heroes with Cher. You can't go back and enjoy it. You can't go back and enjoy it. If you play it, it's done.
It's better to remember it fondly at during its time, like Madagascar, than
To go back and ruin it.
redo the experience today, and you realize that it's only impressive back then. Well, 64, its camera has a couple problems and stuff, but it's
Definitely.
it's serviceable.
Yeah.
Even today, like you could release it today with like slightly improved graphics.
Well, and
just make the graphics the same as 64 DS, released on the 3DS.
So
no
many people would
changes.
buy that.
But you can appreciate a game's ability to stand the test of time, but you can
Sunshine-
equally appreciate a game's ability to do good with what it has at its
Ironically-
time.
Yeah.
64 did great for its time.
Sunshine would hold up today, but it just doesn't. Like artistically, stylistically, it does, but gameplay-wise, it's a victim of the physics engines and stuff of its time.
Yeah.
While Mario, like Sunshine, is a little too precise, and that's why it doesn't hold up because the goddamn pachinko machine is awful. But that's Mario. Mario didn't have anything like that. Like you either made the jump or you didn't, and you had enough of a margin to do so.
Yeah.
And especially the analog stick, because Mario 64 DS only playable in a 3DS. Because the D-pad and they've shrank. They're separate games. You don't need the remake like you do for Pokemon games. Where
Yeah.
the remake is a blatant upgrade over the original.
I have 64 on DSi.
It's
And the only
different
problem I had
games.
with controls was that my back buttons were broken, so I couldn't actually break blocks and
Also,
therefore couldn't get into
that's an
levels.
issue with the DSIs. The L and R buttons
Were really-
were really bad. They broke frequently. Nintendo, just take notes for the future. Any new DSs you ever release, that is a
they do.
huge factor because a lot of games rely on those buttons more than you know.
Well, and
it was only
ultimately-
they actually fixed them by making the actual thing stronger. With the DSi XL was the stronger. Like they made it stronger.
They improved it.
And but the 3DS was slightly weaker, so the 3DS XL was when it kind of really picked up. But one thing that I'd recommend, they're actually really rare, and I actually managed to find them. The Nerf cases. They make them bricks, and I've dropped mine so many times, and my DS still works. I can turn it on, play a game perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It never stopped working.
Yeah.
It never stopped working.
Okay. And we're almost out of time here. I think this has been a very successful podcast. And to finish it off, we're going to be talking about soundtracks and video games.
I thought it was anti-diversity.
No, we're not going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna leave that for later.
Just
but
so you
the
know,
fact
that
that
was
we
the
mentioned it,
Mexicans'
you
idea
know-
to talk about, so you can't blame us for making racist jokes.
You better respect the women.
That's how it works.
That is how it works.
Blame the diversity quota for racist jokes.
But we're going to talk about soundtracks and games. If you haven't noticed, we've had the Undertale soundtrack on repeat the entire time. And
Should I change it?
no, let's not change it because it works perfectly well. We're going to be... I'd actually like to start it off. I'd like to start it off. We're talking about Undertale
We
because
can
I
do a
think...
one-word story to start it off.
No, let's not.
Hey Shay, would you like to tell us a joke?
No.
No.
We need an intermission joke. Come on, Shay.
Okay, you ready for an intermission joke?
Okay.
Alrighty.
What do you get when you pour root beer in a square glass?
Oh no.
What?
Beer.
That's a math joke for those of you who don't get it, and it
Wait,
disgusts
wait,
me.
Sam
wait
isn't
for
in math
Frost to
honors,
get it.
He doesn't get it.
Jose,
I
what do
get. I already got it. You already told this joke to me before.
I tell
Sam's
the same jokes.
disgusted.
Let's
'cause
not
he-
explain it.
Sam's disgusted because he isn't.
We're
as
gonna
good
talk
as
about
math as
soundtracks and
us.
games. Undertale.
We
I
went
think
for it
Undertale was one of the first games that had a soundtrack that was truly beautiful. If you're thinking about it in that way, it's the thing that revolutionized making soundtracks the way they are. You can look back and listen to Professor Layton's soundtracks. We talked about Professor Layton already. They have,
It's a Nintendo puzzle game.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's a Nintendo puzzle game. It's got a beautiful soundtrack. If you look at old games, a lot of old games have nice soundtracks, but it was never a priority. It was never something that you'd go out and buy.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. It was never something that you'd do. But with the release of Undertale, soundtracks started getting better. You look at Undertale, 101 songs that are essentially the same song remixed in 101 different ways.
No,
Yeah.
it isn't quite like Lisa. Or the,
It's just Lisa just warps the same song
it
more
uses
and
the
more.
same type of like.
It uses the same rhythms and the same note patterns occasionally, but
But
except for
it's always-
Megalovania, which is pretty cool.
Well,
I like
no,
that.
That was made for for an Earthbound Halloween hack years ago. Like,
Yeah.
It was like ironically he made his starter on Homestuck. With he made something better than Homestuck, but he started with something
Worse.
worse. He was a renowned composer in that
Yeah.
community, which is good.
I think the Undertale soundtrack, we're saying, games like Lisa just are the same thing over and over again. Well, Undertale does that, but intentionally and stylistically. There's
Lisa
one
does
there's
it.
one slow chord rhythm in Undertale that plays in the background of Home. It plays in the background of Snowden. It's in Undertale, the Undertale title OST, and so they keep that one rhythm because. It gives you a feel through the game. It reminds you of stuff, and it's not in every
Lisa-
song.
It helps
either.
you connect the entire game.
Lisa-
It shows that the entire underground is connected. Sure, there might be differences. If you take a look at Temmie Village and Megalovania,
they're-
there's no comparable things there. but
Yes,
if you go
they're
slowly,
they're both totally different things.
Yeah.
Like, the
But if you
whole
go
game
slowly
has just
through,
been under, like,
you
Temmie
can
Village
connect
is a
through
secret.
several different songs all the way from Temmie Village to Megalovania. You can connect all of those together.
Temmie Village is completely totally different, where it's just this goofy village full of cats, and it's not really supposed to be
Yeah.
totally different. And so is Megalovania, where it's just kind of this, like, it's completely total shift.
You can so easily.
Also, for those of you who haven't heard it, I definitely suggest listening to the Undertale OST or watching a playthrough because
Or just playing it yourself.
playing
I
it
mean,
yourself.
to-
I believe it's on
Forbes
it's on
is,
sale right now on Steam for $5. But
no, Steam Winter Sale's over.
no, I just got it like a while ago. It's still on. But
Oh, by the way, Team Fortress 2, a free game is $0, 20% off. Get it now.
okay.
Well, please download our game that takes up a quarter of your hard drive, sponsored by Valve.
Wait, what?
We're not
Which
going to
game?
talk about that. We're talking about soundtracks.
Soundtracks.
Yeah.
Cuphead. I play in a jazz combo. Chair plays in a jazz combo, and
I'm our diversity quote in the jazz combo as
Yeah.
well.
So we're all in the jazz combo in one way or another.
we're playing Floral Fury from Cuphead right now, and it's don't bring it up right now. I don't want to get a copyright strike.
They're not Nintendo.
Sure. That's
Oh,
one
that's
thing.
a whole nother subject.
We're not going to talk about
That's
that.
another
That's
I
another
hate
podcast.
Nintendo
Okay.
for that.
I think
Didn't they strike one of your videos once?
Yeah.
okay, but Cuphead is a completely different soundtrack from Undertale. It does it differently in that it's not 8-bit. It's not a remix of the same songs.
Well,
It's-
Lisa does the kind of thing where if you don't listen to the soundtrack, and I suggest you don't because it kind of ruins the immersion, it makes the same song, chords shift and everything, to the point where you never remember how it exactly sounded like, and
Yeah.
it still fits the area.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
But what I was saying was Cuphead. They went to the extent of hiring, like I think 3
Professional.
tenor saxophones, a trumpet. They had
Multiple percussion.
Speaking of which studio MDHR, hit us up, please.
we're
want
just gonna go
money.
for as many sponsorships
In
as
one
we can.
video?
Yeah,
Give me money.
Yeah.
Just give me money.
we're desperate.
Donate to our Patreon now.
We don't have a Patreon. Don't go looking for it.
Just send me a PM on MoneyGram.
Send me I mean money.
Yeah.
Nudes are perfectly accepted, but money's preferred.
Let's not go there. We're a family-friendly YouTube channel.
Please be legal.
Yeah. But Cuphead, they went to the extent of hiring professionals for this soundtrack. And if you take a look at games like Hollow Knight, they have a beautiful soundtrack that are not being praised for it. But the fact that better soundtracks are becoming normalized makes me very happy. Because it gives you a difference from most of the pop music we see today. To gay. It is pretty gay. But if you look at the pop music you see today, it's the same 4 chords for every single song, rearranged slightly differently. If you look at different games,
Which pop music industry sponsor us?
Yeah.
Hit me up. Give me
The
money.
whole industry.
I'm sorry that
Just the
I'm
industry.
sorry we said you're gay. You're not.
You're pretty straight in my eyes.
unless you're a gay artist, in which case
unless
we are
you're
completely
unless
okay
you're
with
gay
you being
for
gay.
me, it's good.
Yeah. Maybe we should edit this part out. But
No, editing doesn't exist.
Ultimately, what were you going to say?
what I was gonna say is the fact that the good soundtracks are becoming normalized makes me very happy, because we're getting more and more confined to the same type of music. And I know this is a video game podcast, and a lot of you aren't going to be coming here for music, but music is a big part of a lot of people's life. And if I play a game, I want to be able to immerse myself, and part of that is music. And more, I'm finding that games are pulling that off successfully. And that makes me very happy. And,
With the Undertale soundtrack, you can very easily argue that, and I've...
he took another sip of tea.
Why drink it? I've heard the argument multiple times from people who've played or haven't played the game about all the songs sound similar, but they're all in the same genre. But
Exactly.
if you look at the diversity within the genre, they do a very good job of keeping it differing.
Exactly. Like, right now, go and listen to Spear of Justice, and then listen to Home. You can
They're
tell
different songs.
They're different
They're
songs.
completely,
Made
totally
with the
different.
same synthesizer,
Same
maybe, but
leitmotif, is it right? Or-
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure. Good, close enough. I'm the diversity quota, not the composer here.
But I think, unless anyone else has anything to say, I think that about wraps it up for today.
Let's talk about sponsors.
Yeah, let's not talk about
like
sponsors.
sponsors.
yeah,
So,
turn this off.
Feel free to send us money. Legal.
We may or may not reference you, but do send us money.
Send us money. Legal art, please. Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Legal
well,
photography.
No, we're not doing that.
And do not reference that Boston Cuphead at all.
Yeah, we're not going to bring She Who Shall Not Be Named. And
tentacles.
again,
ultimately, that marks the end of the first I Am Chair podcast.
All right.
again, to recap, I've been your host, Pine Jolt, and I'm joined by Frost Blooper, also known as Jose, and Chair.
Arguably subtitled The Tide. If you get that joke, I'm single, so you know.
Single and ready to mingle, hot and ready to
Hey.
trot, and I think that's a good end for the podcast. So
But only if you get my jokes.
I'm Frost Blooper, and I'll never get a girlfriend.
thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you next time.
Ta-ra.